I mean, guys, these are being. Bro, what are you doing? I see you're putting it out. I see you. Hey, you want me? Hey, hey. First, stop. First, I have been very contracted to do everything. We're going to come out, stop, and I'm gonna do my assignment.
But it's too late.
I promise you next week, by next week, I'll be like 2 weeks. Bro,
Next week we're done.
huh?
Next week we're done.
I'm not gonna work on my assignment this week.
You could have been doing that over the weekend, bro. That's what I've been doing.
You got too much assignments to do in 1 week.
No, look, this one, I already got it up, she just did not ready yet.
Yeah,
I did the whole week.
Okay, so that gets you to 1.7.
Is that all? Yeah, and it's what's.
Huh?
Wait, what's the GPA right now? Okay, what? Hey, I got a 2.
I'm trying to get it up to 1.8.
Hey, Paul. We got him, Kenny.
Listen to shit.
Somebody got a pencil. I think we're taking notes. Hey, Paul, we got him snacks from, bro.
It's 72, baby. It's probably the best week we've ever found.
I told you, bro. All the game. Because y'all.
You like the pros that you get to do with.
Yay, I think you said it. That's why it's fire, but then, I don't know how to say it.
Bro, what the beginning is fire.
Yeah, at the beginning, fire, but it's like, it went down.
Overshot.
Don't listen to my song. I'm gonna show you.
Okay, I need all the computers closed. I need your headphones off. This is the 3rd time I'm saying it. You need to have paper and a pencil out.
I'll tell you what I can start it on.
That's why you didn't even listen to it.
Hey, can I play?
Hey, don't put the headphones like that, bro. Alright, bro.
Take them off. Turn around so you can see the screen and your paper and pencil.
How much do you make on a daily average?
Oh,
I mean, a couple years.
about 4 hours.
You need to get a paper. Hey, get your mind.
Just make it straight.
He's no longer saying put the paint on your work. Oh. If you don't fix that one.
My paper isn't.
Guys got papers?
I might push you back a little bit and you're gonna be lined up, so. Yeah, every single day.
I be going to tomorrow.
I'll tell you. I like the price that you guys want to get out.
It's there.
You're gonna be able to take
It's
it.
haircuts.
Quiz, but you take notes.
My hair is cool right ahead.
Oh.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Gotta get up, play the game.
You said we're gonna get it around.
The school game. Pretending like we're doing school.
Yeah.
I know. We can have a quiz
Like
on
you
this.
should all the way down, I think.
And if you have it written down, you get that on there. Quiz.
That's cool.
Okay.
I see.
I actually get a color every color.
I know you don't.
All right, I need you guys quiet down. Chad, put your computer down.
You want paper?
They're so.
Okay. What we're doing.
Don't go to the rest of the community.
Already got accepted.
Okay, so what we're doing is we're trying to get to our framing unit, but as I was going through last week, I was doing a bunch of prototypes. This is the one that the class has previously built. I know it looks that different than the other ones, but trying to get as much as we can out of a 2x4. Trying to do the math to get it to work right, how tall it is, why it's this long. Trying to get everything to come out on 16 inches on center. So I built this prototype. It's slightly different size than the other one. I think it's better designed and will give you the ability to do everything like you're supposed to do. So I kind of worked on that last week and made some adjustments. Everything I didn't like the way it was before. And then as I was going through and I thought, well, we need to start with framing. I thought, well, we watched those videos and what we really need to do is figure out how a house is built. So if this is home maintenance, obviously, if you know how things are put together and you know how something's built, it makes it a lot easier to take it apart and fix it. Can you shut that door for me? I just went. Thank you. So I figured that we ought to learn how kind of basically the basic construction process goes before we jump into framing, just so you can see how that fits in. And then what we'll do is we'll learn how to frame a wall in case you guys ever wanted to finish a basement or you wanted a job in construction. This would be a good place to start. And basic framing looks like it's just nailing a bunch of sticks together, but there is a rhyme and a reason for the way we do it. To make things structurally strong, to make things so they meet code, to make things so we don't waste lumber, to make things so we insulate things properly. And if you make something that you don't insulate properly, you could literally be paying for it for the next 50 or 100 years in the house if your bills go up every year. How many of you guys live like in a house that's got like rooms that are colder than other rooms? Okay. So my room's on the north side of the house. Figure out which way is north. North side's usually the colder side. So my bedroom's on the north side of the house. So it's usually a little bit cooler. My daughter's room is at the end of the hall. It's the furthest away from the furnace. And so her room gets cold, even though it's on the south side as well. But hers is always like the hottest and the coldest. She's upstairs from me. My other two kids, theirs is kind of normal. But it depends on how you insulate things. And so I'm going to show you the way that they did it 10 years ago and the way that that wall is framed. And then I'll show you the way that we're doing it now. That I'm going to show you a different way. So we'll compare those two things.
Who had an order?
So,
No, are you telling me hi? Hi. Who had an order? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Come
yes,
on.
you ordered stuff.
Okay.
Why is this a hard thing to do? Yeah, I saw someone walk in with drinks. So,
You don't get paid.
yeah.
4, 6, 7, please.
I had to go watch.
She has a stand at the door, so have to come get it. It's in you. I like that.
Yeah. Guys, quit touching each other.
Is this the freshman class?
No, it's mixed, everything.
No, we're a freshman.
So.
Were the kids touching each other freshmen?
Yes, yes.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, Miss Bass.
Okay, so, guys, I just said something, she just said something, and then you're touching each other again. It's gonna hit my hand. So, you kind of need to understand how the construction process works. This is going to take us through it in a very general term, very kind of just like the most basic. We'll jump into this and we'll get more involved. As we build our small walls, what the things that we'll do with it is we'll be able to run electricity through it, learn how to wire it, learn how to put in a switch, learn how to put in an outlet, Then we will, learn how to drywall it. We'll learn how to finish that drywall. We'll learn how to fix the drywall. We'll learn how to paint the wall. My girlfriend thinks that there's no rules to painting, and there very much are rules to painting. So you can do a lot better job if you learn a few simple techniques. And one of the best ways to learn stuff is to find someone who works in the trade that has worked in the trade for a long time. They've had good mentors, they've learned from other people. And am I interrupting like a whole coffee talk that we got going here? Because we can lose the coffee and we can lose the talk. So wherever I was in the middle of that. And you'll find someone who does it every day. We'll find shortcuts and find better ways to do things. They're literally solving problems every single day. So I'll try to teach you some of those things that I know, but we'll go through this whole basic process. And that will take us quite a bit of time because we'll do a plumbing unit, an electrical unit, a drywall unit, a framing unit. And so we'll get into that second semester for sure. So as it says, custom homes are built on site. That is, when I say a custom home, I'm usually talking about a home that's already bought by somebody. So if I'm the builder, someone comes to me and says, hey, I want to build a home. And I say, okay, let's choose a floor plan. They would get to pick colors. They would like to get to maybe move things around a little bit in a custom home. This is saying basically a stick-built house on site. Okay, so they're comparing it to a manufactured home, like sometimes like even a modular home, manufactured home, and then custom home. They're saying this is different. But most builders build a number of floor plans, and they work with an architecture firm and an engineer to come up with like 10 different plans. And they say, these are basically the houses we built. You get to choose from one of those. Okay. Specifications are set for each stage. Now, the part that you need, building permits must be obtained. Building permits are done by the local government. Okay. So, they're made by the local government. If you live in Kansas City, you have to meet with the Kansas City Zoning Commission. All right, and you have to submit plans, and then you have to have inspections once those plans have been approved. Then if you live out in the country, you usually go by county plans, and there is an international standard of plans that they use. But depending on where you are, those things are going to be different. You're going to have an inspection at each part. You're going to have the foundation inspected. You're going to have all the footings inspected. They're going to do those before you even pour the concrete. Usually, you'll go out there and they'll make sure everything's right. You'll get an inspection and they'll stamp it being okay. You'll get a frame inspection, an electrical inspection, a plumbing inspection, and then you usually have a final inspection as well. But like you might have different things. If you built a house in Florida, why might it have different codes and need to have different inspections than something built here? Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Hurricanes, right? Okay, so if you live in California, what might you have to account for? And heat and fire, because they have a lot of fires out there with the current situation and how warm it is. And how dry it is in different places. And then you also have earthquakes, right? So all those things are going to add different components. We might share a lot of the codes that deal with hurricanes because we have tornadoes, right? And so you might have to cross tie things. You might use hurricane clips and all these different things when you build that make things stronger. We might talk about those as we get through and we frame a little bit of stuff. Guys, I need you quiet. I see blank pieces of paper. And I need to change the slide. So you didn't write. The things are going to help you on the first question.
Oh, I think you highlighted them. Steve.
Okay, make sure that you have this about permits and inspections. Levon, you got this written down? How long have we been in class? Since 9:10, it is 9:44. So for 34 minutes, I've asked you to get a pencil.
Oh, this one's way good.
Who's that?
Oats or Asian?
I'm so tired. You saying Mickey? I know, I feel bad.
No, I. Yep.
They what?
Yeah, big route.
Yeah, I pushed it. Are you able to move that motor thing? Motor thingy? I call it a motor thingy because it's freaking motor.
I'm not.
I think like you're going to stay. Oh, but I'm going to. This thing changed. Well, it's a good game. That movie game, you gotta say the real name. You get the fire. Here, stop.
We'll get blindsided.
What were you just drawing? You guys, I'll show you a target. Yes, act that, oh. Oh, that's so funny. Friday.
He always does colors, you know, he always has.
Oh, what is birthday on the target?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you see?
Hey, when I go,
You're the guy. Who is it? You're the mother.
Okay, this is the part you need right here.
Keegan Scott.
Oh.
Okay, they use a variety of heavy equipment to be able to take foundations. So the first thing, once you pull permits. Never mind. Get out something to write with. Quit messing with candy. Now start taking notes. It slides behind, you're not doing anything except disrupting. Okay, so they use all kinds of heavy equipment. So you'll see backhoes, track hoes, you'll see bobcats, caterpillars, bulldozers, whatever. And the thing that they usually do with all footings, with all foundations, with most of the utilities that come into your home that have water especially, they'll bury them below the frost line. Okay, and so we'll talk about what footings are and stuff in a second. But they'll dig below the frost line. In Kansas City, I believe it's 36 inches. Okay, and so they'll come out with a stick, you'll dig your footing, and they'll come out and they'll measure that to make sure it's more than 36 inches below the soil level. So 3 feet. If you go further north, it might be 48 inches, it might be even more than that. In some places, they'll have what's called permafrost, which means that it'll be frozen down to a certain level all year round.
Yep.
Well, like in Alaska, you build things differently.
What does Messi say?
Why the what? Oh, yeah, I would.
Really? Is this much of first hand that said that was?
Brandon, was it you?
Isn't it? Like, sir? Like.
They're like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh."
I go.
Construction.
Construction.
Actually, I think.
She's like.
No,
You ran up the road?
we were thinking of the
I had to help out. Well, it's back into it.
No. We almost did it, except you were just driving around.
Lizzie. Lizzie. Hi.
What are y'all doing?
Lizzie.
What?
Turn your camera on. Never mind.
All right, so here's, guys, quiet. Here's a picture of a track hoe, if you've seen one before. So they've got tracks just like a tank
This is the
would,
track.
and then the big bucket. That's an easy way to do it. A lot of times you'll see them build a ramp and they'll use a bulldozer. And then they'll kind of get themselves out of it. It's pretty interesting to watch how they do that and then fill that back in. But each of these pieces of equipment that you see may cost several hundred thousands of dollars. So in the end, that piece of equipment might cost as the house itself. So digging foundations here in the Midwest is a pretty expensive endeavor. Guys. If you go to California or Florida, you won't find basements. You would think in Florida that might be nice, but the average elevation of Florida is 3 feet above sea level. So obviously your basement will be full of water most of the time. And so other places will build on a slab, a little bit cheaper to build that way. But you don't get the advantages of having a basement. Basements are relatively cheap space to build because you have to build the foundation anyway. Here's another, example of you can see how deep they have to go, digging foundations. At the bottom here, you start to see, forms that they're, using for their footings. I'll show you a better picture of those here in a second. Forms are constructed. Forms are constructed for the footings. These are the forms that you see down here. A lot of times they're 2x4s or 2x6s. And those will be the forms. Footings are formed twice as wide as the foundation. So if you have a 6-inch foundation, they need to be at least 12 inches wide, okay? Typically they'll be even wider. Most foundation walls are probably 8 inches, and in some cases 12. So like for my house, I have a suspended slab in my garage. So that means I have a basement under my garage. Well, that floor is 12 inches thick at one end of it, okay? And so it needs a substantial foundation wall. So they're probably 12 inches thick, the wall. So that probably means my footings are 24 inches wide there to hold it and support that wall.
Oh, no, but you know, we're supposed to stay here and watch. Where's you supposed to write it? I understand.
Chickens.
Guys, put your phones away. You want to keep?
Jordan, I'm gonna watch it. Not anymore. Is that what you're trying? Sad though, but it was like really dry on the floor. But that work is good. Boy.
No, no. Lizzie, can you hear me? Lizzie,
Well,
Lizzie.
Yeah. I thought it could be very. Probably. Like, you had like better Why do you? I started fighting, I'm like, I can jump by streets. That's the game, like, you got jumped by girls and
Okay, everyone got this finished up? Any more time? Okay, here's another picture that shows you those footers that are being put down here. This whole thing will be the basement. The footings or footers will go here. They'll be twice as wide as the foundation walls. They'll set new forms on top of these footers, and that will be the basement wall. Okay, and then they'll pour in a slab in the middle. That'll be your basement floor. Okay. Here's another example of them pouring. These are the footers. Okay, they'll go in here. That's what they're pouring right here. So they're using a huge pumper trunk, and so there's what it looks like. This boom will extend out it'll unfold 3 different times, and it will be enough to go up and over a 2-story house to the backyard. Okay, So, yeah, that boom's probably, 100 feet or probably even more. And you can see that it's got these big outriggers out here to keep it from tipping over as it, sends the boom. So there's 4 of them. Yeah. And so, and that big truck they will, pour concrete in from one of the big trucks that's got the barrel that rotates, right? That'll hold a few yards of concrete and they'll pump it, or they'll pour it into this hopper and then it will pump to the backyard or wherever it needs to go. Here's what it looks like once, say.
Oh.
Guys, hey, guys, could you stop talking long enough that I can go through this and show you what you need to know? We're gonna take a test over it, and then you're gonna fail the test. Then you're gonna come back to me and say, no, you take my test. And I'm gonna say, no. I say, why? And I say, because you talked through it the whole time and you didn't take notes. Okay, so what is this sticking up out of the footings? What?
Rebar.
Rebar, okay. So that rebar is just a piece of steel. They measure it as a fraction. So if you see rebar, it'll be number 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1 equals 1/4. 2 would equal 2/4 or 1/2, right? 3 is 3/4, or number 4
Okay.
is 4/4.
Hey, Devin.
Okay?
Hey, Devin.
4/4
Hey,
is
Devin. Hey, Devin.
1 inch. Okay? So they measure it in quarters. So if it says number 3 rebar, okay, it's 3/4 of an inch. If it says number 2, okay, it's going to be 1/2 inch. Okay? So if you see number 4 rebar, it's huge. It's an inch thick. You won't see that on most. It's a foam picture. So what I feel like I need to do is if I'm ever going to teach anything in here, we need a new seating chart. Is that what's going to have to happen? Okay. Because I'm going to end up failing half of you on a quiz, and then I'm going to end up putting you guys in the seating chart. It's just going to be miserable for everyone, right, Levon?
Levon.
You are? Okay, if you look over here, you're gonna see some other footings, all right? This one's gonna be for a stair stack. This one's gonna be for a pole or a column that's gonna support that's gonna support an I-beam. So there's gonna be an I-beam that goes across up here, and you're gonna have columns that support that I-beam, and you're gonna have to have a place for those to sit. Okay, so you're gonna have I-beams that go across. That supports the first floor. So here are more pictures of it. Okay, foundation forms, I'm sorry, are erected on footings. So foundations set on footings. So they're gonna use vertical and horizontal rebar. Okay, and it's gonna be tied to each other. They tie it, they take a pair of pliers or a little tool, and they have some wire, and they'll tie all that stuff together. And so that helps support or keep the concrete together. Gives stability to it. Okay, concrete is poured into forms again. And anchor bolts are going to be placed 2 inches from the exterior edge. And that's what you're going to put your sill plate next to. Okay, I'll show you a picture of that in like 3 slides.
Dude, what? He's saying some freaking. What is it now?
You'll see those.
Fortunately, I'm so glad.
No. Stop. Support. Lizzie, hey. Support and and you. Anchor. Bolts. Place. Place 2 inches. And that's exterior. Edge.
Take it off the phone. Does he wear a mask?
Lizzie, where's Lily and Corbin?
Face mask.
Lizzie.
Okay. Every time you see that.
Lily and Corbin.
Like wearing safety.
Where are they? Because they said hi to me. I didn't see them. They said hi to me. I didn't see them.
I can't.
They said hi to me. I did not see them.
Hey, Devin.
It's not right. It's not cozy on it. That's like, it feels stuff. I thought you were never done this.
I'll record. I'll record. I think they're the best ones. And they should. We'll see them. I think that. And then. I watched a lot. Okay, so you want to know, anyone ever seen the trucks go through their neighborhood or through a neighborhood and they got the form stacked? They have a. You'll see these big things of form on a truck with a boom, and what they literally have is a piece of rebar that's bent right here.
Sorry.
And it goes down the middle of them.
Yeah.
They'll put these in with the crane, and then guys will set these up on the footers. and the rebar will come up through to create the foundation. So these are the foundation walls. That will get put in. This is what they look like once they've been put in. And then right here, you can see the bolts 2 inches from the exterior wall. Okay, and those bolts will then tie into the sill plate. And that's what holds the wall down or holds the wall to the floor. And that's a pretty strong structural tie. It keeps the wall down, but even though they have a big washer on them and a good sized bolt, they could tear out by falling over. And so then that's how you have to tie them to the other existing walls to get that structural support. Okay, here they are filling the slab floor with gravel. And so your plumbing will go through the floor or through this gravel and it'll be below the basement floor. And so that's where your main drain pipes will go. They'll go out, your gas line will come in, your water line will come in the house, all below grade, and usually come up through that. And then they'll pour cement on top of it.
Lizzie.
Okay, beams, steel girders, or also known as beams, are placed on top of columns, and I'll show you pictures of those. These columns are supported by piers. Okay, that's a footing for a column, is a pier. You might want to write that down as a definition. They're important at the same time as the footings. The beams are used to support the floor. So you have floor joists, and those floor joists set on beams. Because most of the time, your house is wider than those floor joists can span. Most common lumber, if you're using like Doug's fir, it can span 12 to 14 feet. Okay. Well, most of your homes are wider than that. So you have to have a beam down the middle, and then you might have 2 of those or 3 of those that will support your floor joist.
Yeah. Listen to the teacher.
Oh,
You know what I said?
okay, now,
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's hard on.
Noticing all the records.
No, alright, look. I promise you today I'm gonna do something. Like when I get home, I'm gonna still egg this test. And I be like, I don't believe it.
Oh, dang. Got a haircut? You got a haircut? That looks good. That's good.
guys, you don't need your computers out.
Yeah.
That made absolutely.
Class is almost over.
Yes, you need the mic.
Hmm?
Your data work. And
He's not cute, but he's broken out of this. And he's expecting at the cafe.
What? Like, don't see how to look, you know, like. He said you wanna find a girl to stay. Yeah, he wants. Andy plus two. You literally hear my son. I'm gonna cancel you, man. I'm gonna kill you.
All right, everyone have this down? Okay, so here's what it looks like. These are your steel beams.
I did.
Yes, quiet. Take your headphones off. Levon.
Yes.
Headphones off. Okay, so from the time I've been a little kid, every column in the basement's painted with the same color and stuff. How many of you guys have been down in your basement or a basement and seen these beams that you have right here?
Hey.
Okay, guys, shut up. So what's this called again?
Foundation.
What's this?
Beams.
What's this one, the vertical one? Okay, guys, quit touching each other.
Is it the one we just wrote down?
Yeah, this is the column,
Oh, that's a column.
okay? That's a column. Okay, it sits. What's it sit on?
Here.
A pier. What's this called? Okay, it's an I-beam. Sometimes it's called a girder. Those are both on your last notes. So if you're doing a custom home and you don't want to have all these posts in your basement, you need to consult your builder and they'll consult an engineer. They can put in, like I have one that's like twice as thick as this. That means that my ceiling is lower in that spot, but it might mean that you don't have posts. So I have one of those, like a huge beam in my garage, because it's got a span, what is that, 32 feet, okay, without a post. So it's like twice as big as this. So if you go through your basement, you should know that there's a big pad underneath the floor. That's a pier. It supports a column. That supports an I-beam. And then your joists come across this way.
There's more.
So you have 4 joists to do that. Okay, last thing you need to put in your notes today is sill plates.
I'm not gonna say what it is.
Big deal about it. Hector, shut up. I don't hear you. Old lady.
Left, you supposed to be a fight. You supposed to fight. That never had like. Bro, you so bad.
Yes, and not. Your song is so funny.
Like, that's something like, if you make me laugh, make me laugh. It's hard for me to laugh.
You never ever. The way you laugh, like, hey.
You're like, well,
Yo, look at those. Look at those. Like, imagine that. Send it to me. Look at those. But they. Look at that video. This is my girl. Like, you know, look at Art.
No, you're so. Just yesterday, I said, in the block trying to work for me. He didn't even, I don't know.
Hey, does he want to?
I think it's okay for Lizzie to, unmute herself. I think it's okay. So, all right, Lizzie.
Again, on this slide, you can see the sill plates. I was just showing some people there on the back there. They're on the foundation. Those are bolted. I can't see the bolts from there. The ones that are on the steel beams or the girders are just, they're usually, they use construction adhesive and they usually tie them down with some bent nails. And that's what secures your floor or the floor joisting to those beams.
I'm great.
I don't know, you talk to my car lecture, you're talking. What? You guys were like interrupting the whole time. I had to wait like 50 times for you guys. And you still kept talking.
You're excited.
Like, who was you talking to? And you guys all four were talking back and forth to each other. You were talking half the time. I can sit here and see you from here. See how that might be frustrating for me? Okay. So is it gonna happen again? All right.
As long as they stay quiet.
No, you.
This one.
Well, I'm not too. Was that the last part of the presentation? That's halfway through, so I'm gonna stop there. We're gonna finish them next time, do first.
Just responsive to body.
Stop there.
I'm sure you do. Listen to this. They got.
You know the pumpkins.
He might be like. She might be like.
Well, we not, he said it on.